Elias hated the night shift. 10 hours of echoing silence in a dying mall. Just him and the rats. The Westgate Galleria was a relic, a monument to a time when people actually went places to buy things. Now, it was just a graveyard of shuttered stores and faded advertisements. His job was simple. Walk the perimeter, make sure no one broke in to steal the worthless fixtures, and try not to die of boredom. It was on one of these mind-numbing patrols, down in the damp, musty basement, that he found it. Tucked away in a forgotten storage closet, behind a stack of water-stained ceiling tiles, sat an old CRT television, a boxy, gray clunker from the 90s. Complete with rabbit-ear antennas. Out of sheer curiosity, and desperate for any distraction, he hauled it back to the security office. He plugged it in. The screen flickered to life with a familiar hiss, displaying nothing but a chaotic dance of black and white static. He fiddled with the knobs, smacked the side a few times for good measure, but the snowstorm on the screen was all it had to offer. Disappointed, he left it on, the soft crackle of the static. A welcome companion in the oppressive silence. He was making his rounds on the second floor when his radio crackled. It was dispatch, a routine check-in. As he was confirming all clear, a loud crash echoed from the food court below. His heart jumped. He sprinted to the railing and peered over. A large section of the ceiling, right above the old fountain, had collapsed, sending plaster and dust everywhere. He radioed it in, his voice a little shaky. The rest of the night was uneventful. When he got back to the security office to write up the incident report, he glanced at the old TV. The static was still rolling, but as he stared into it, something strange happened. The fuzzy dots seemed to coalesce, to form sapis. He squinted, leaning closer. It was an image, grainy and distorted, but undeniable. He was looking at the food court, and then he watched as a chunk of the ceiling broke away and crashed to the floor. He blinked, shaking his head. It was just a replay, a trick of the light, his tired mind playing games. He checked his watch. It was 2:05 a.m. The ceiling had collapsed at exactly 2 a.m. A 5-minute delay. Weird. The next night, he couldn't take his eyes off the TV. He sat there, mesmerized by the static, waiting. Around midnight, an image began to form again. It was the main entrance. He watched the screen intently. A few moments later, on the television, one of the glass doors shattered, as if hit by a rock. Elias immediately grabbed his flashlight and bolted towards the entrance. He got there, heart pounding, and found nothing. The doors were perfectly intact. Confused, he stood there for a few minutes, scanning the empty parking lot. Just as he was about to turn back, convinced he was losing his mind, a loud crack split the silence. One of the glass doors exploded into a spiderweb of fractures, then collapsed inward. He checked his watch. The door on the TV had shattered at 12:01 a.m. The real door shattered at 12:06 a.m. Exactly 5 minutes later. This wasn't a replay. It was a preview. The TV was showing him the future. A cold dread mixed with a strange sense of power washed over him. This could be useful. He could prevent accidents, catch vandals before they even acted. He'd watch the static, wait for the 5-minute prophecy, and then act. He was always one step ahead. He started to feel like the king of his concrete kingdom, the all-seeing warden of this forgotten place. But the TV was fickle. Sometimes it showed him nothing but static for hours. Other times, the images were so fleeting and distorted he couldn't make them out. It was toying with him. He felt it was a game. A game he thought he was winning. Tonight was different. The mall felt colder, the silence heavier. He sat in the security office, his eyes glued to the screen, the static hissing like a serpent. The air grew thick, and the hairs on his arms stood on end. Then, an image started to resolve from the noise. It was the security office. His security office. He could see the back of his own head, his familiar blue uniform, the monitors on the desk in front of him. He was watching a recording of himself from just behind his own chair. A chill snaked its way down his spine. He was watching the future, his own immediate future. He sat frozen, watching the back of his own head on the screen. But it had no face. Where a face should be, there was just a smooth, blank expanse of pale skin, like polished marble. The figure stood motionless, directly behind the television version of Elias. Just the empty office, the filing cabinets, the door. Just the static and the loneliness getting to him. He laughed, a short, choked sound. He was losing it. He turned his eyes back to the CRT television to confirm it was just a phantom of the screen. His heart stopped. On the TV, the faceless figure was no longer standing still. It had taken a step closer to his on-screen self. He scrambled backwards, his chair screeching against the floor as he pushed away from the desk. He couldn't tear his eyes from the screen. He watched the televised scene, a prisoner to his own 5-minute fate. On the screen, the faceless thing leaned down, its blank head moving next to the on-screen Elias's ear, as if whispering something. He screamed. He scrambled for the door, fumbling with the lock, his hands shaking so badly he could barely fit the key in. He slammed the heavy steel door shut and threw the deadbolt. He was locked in. Safe. He slumped against the door, his body trembling uncontrollably, gasping for air. His eyes darted back to the old television. He watched as his television self suddenly began to scream, a silent, pixelated scream of pure terror. Then, in the real world, from the other side of the door he was leaning against, came a sound that would be the last thing he ever heard.